All right. I think that's probably good. We got a few more people coming in, but yeah, I think we're good to get started here, Felipe. So just want to welcome everybody to the Sophos MDR Customer Success Fundamentals, where the topic is all about MDR telemetry and integration health. So yeah, thank you for joining today's call, taking time out of your busy days. We'll kick things off with just some introductions from today's presenters. My name is Sean Birchall. I'm a Customer Success Manager here for the MDR team at Sophos. Been with the company for about a year and a half now, maybe a little bit over that. I'm based up here in Calgary, Canada, which is at the foot of the Rocky Mountains. And yeah, I'm excited to be talking with you today. I'll pass it over to Felipe to introduce himself.
Thank you, Sean. Welcome, everyone. We are really excited to have you on this webinar. Just a clarification, this is the MDR Customer Success Office Hours, so just apologies for the first slide, which we mentioned Customer Success Fundamentals. This is the MDR Customer Success Office Hours. My name is Felipe Medina. I'm part of the MDR Customer Success team. I'm based in Canada as well, in Ontario. And I've been in the cybersecurity industry for almost 8 years already, and now with Sophos 1 year and a half, happy assisting all of you regarding the MDR service. So just important details over here, please do not share or disclose any sensitive information or privileged company information during the Q&A section. If you have any questions regarding your detections, cases, any update incident within your environment, please feel free to reach out to the MDR operations team. So, Sean, what do we have for today's agenda?
Yeah, thanks, Felipe. So yeah, we've gone through the introductions, and then we're going to talk about MDR telemetry. We're going to start with a little bit of talking about integrations at a high level and kind of get smaller and get things more micro. Talk about the MDR integrations we have, some ones that are included in your licensing as an MDR customer, some add-ons as well. Some new features we have there too. We'll talk about Microsoft telemetry. So Microsoft is a key integration that we have here. So we'll dig into that. We'll also talk about some integration use cases with firewall, identity, and email providers as well. And then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So feel free to ask questions throughout today's call. Happy to address those. And if we can't address them on today's call, we'll follow up with you after today to get those questions addressed and answered. So feel free to ask away, and there'll be a session at the end to answer those questions. So yeah, let's jump in and get started here. So let's start kind of high level. So, what is an integration? In simple terms, it's the process of combining and communicating with two or more things and bring them together into one system. So you can think of an integration as a way to share information between systems, and with integration solutions coming in many different forms. So for example, you can have an HR solution talking to a payroll solution, or a CRM system talking to a supply chain solution. In the same way, Sophos here, MDR, we can integrate with third-party applications and other Sophos native products and solutions as well. And we can actually ingest that data through MDR and see the device telemetry coming through. Now, in today's day and age, environments are becoming more and more complex, and it is no longer sufficient to rely on endpoints or on-premise solutions for protection alone. So this is where integrations can play a vital role by consolidating security data like events, detections, and suspicious activity into one platform. So in today's threat landscape, one single place is not enough to protect you. We're now focused on collecting data from multiple sources like email, cloud, firewall, NDR, and so on. So being able to ingest that data from multiple sources can improve visibility and awareness across an entire system, not only from a technology perspective, but also from a user perspective as well. One of the main issues or gaps that you see in cybersecurity is users or humans due to a lack of knowledge or awareness on cybersecurity processes. Human error plays a huge factor. You may have heard the common cybersecurity phrase that an organization's biggest weakness is the people that they have in place, which is probably why all of us go through that cybersecurity training around, phishing and stuff like that, where they test us out. I'm sure some of the people on the call have maybe clicked on some malicious links before. But yeah, that's part of the complex environments, and they're growing exponentially over time. So we've made it a priority here to connect with those third-party solutions and other software solutions, just to make sure that we're proactive in terms of supporting and preventing threats. So when it comes to looking through that visibility, we're basically collating different types of event sources and ingesting device telemetry to create detections, and then adding this telemetry to what we call the Sophos data lake. So the data lake provides us with a mechanism to initiate investigations, analyze detections, create cases, and most importantly, respond to those threats and work on containment of those threats and neutralization as well. When a detection does turn out to be a true positive, we have been filtering detections from many different sources to get to this point. As you can kind of see on this slide here, we're dealing with 31 billion events on a daily basis, and then we have 358 million detections, leading to 367 cases per day. So the MDR operations team then goes on to investigate, analyze those detections, and create cases and escalate over to our customers. So they've been investigating suspicious activity. When it comes to escalations, we need your involvement, right? It kind of goes back to communicating back and forth with our team, whether it's the customer success team, more likely the MDR operations team that you're going to be working with. So this just kind of shows you the scale of what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, like bringing all these event sources together, collating the data, and then escalating it over where necessary, and trying not to be too noisy because there is a lot of detections and notifications that can occur. So with the integrations with regards to MDR, so we offer a broad and open ecosystem of technology partners that we integrate seamlessly with, and that includes proprietary Sophos products like NDR, email, firewall, and then also third-party companies as well. So if you are, we'll go to this next slide here to show you kind of the MDR included integration. So if you're an MDR customer, which you likely are on this call, you already have Sophos XDR and endpoint as part of the package. But then we also have, cloud, firewall, email, NDR as well, which MDR can navigate with too. So with cloud, you're able to stop cloud breaches and gain visibility across those cloud services, whether it's AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. When it comes to firewall, you're able to monitor and filter network traffic to stop those threats from coming in. Email, stopping malware, phishing campaigns, they're getting more and more evolved as well. And then also with NDR, you're dealing with any network to responses to make sure that things are getting taken care of properly. So these all work in tandem with MDR, where we can bring in that information to the Sophos data lake and create cases out of it from that and protect it as well. So it's nice to have everything in one ecosystem within Sophos Central as well. We do have 2 free integrations for customers. So we have the Microsoft Security Suite integration and the Google Security Suite. We're going to dive into the Microsoft one later today with Felipe, but we would recommend taking advantage of these free integrations to allow us to view the telemetry and data coming in. So just want to point those out for you. They're easy to set up and configure in your environment, and just helps kind of protect you a little bit more with those applications. This next page is going to have some add-on integrations. So we sell these as basically packs. So it could be a firewall pack where you'd buy the pack and you get access to Barracuda, Cisco, SonicWall, Palo Alto. Same goes for the identity and the cloud packs. So if you're ever looking to get these added on, just please let us know and we'll get you in touch with your account representative. We do have a relatively new offering here. That's the Sophos Managed Risk. So basically with Sophos Managed Risk, it's going to be a new integration that we have here that you're able to get set up and configured moving forward. So it's a nice tool for being able to report on internet-facing assets, associated with your domains. It scans the assets you have for vulnerabilities. You get reports on risks and then also possible remediation. So this service also includes regular meetings with our team to review recent findings as well. And as I mentioned before, if you're looking to get any of these packs added to your current licensing, please just get in touch with your account representative. If you're not sure who that is, reach out to the customer success team and we'll get you in the right hands as well. And then when it comes to integration health, kind of a brief overview here. We'll post the document here in the chat so we can see a little more detail. But a good way to look at it is you'll see 3 different colors when it comes to those integration statuses. So green meaning everything is okay, the data is flowing freely, and we're able to look into things and things are very healthy. Yellow means that the data is malformed, or maybe 10 minutes has passed since no data has been ingested. So this is worth looking into when you see it, just to make sure things are working properly if you need to troubleshoot and fix that. And then red is obviously not good because the integration is not working properly, no data is flowing in, and this needs to be addressed. So we're going to post that document in there so you can take a little bit more look into it than we're able to cover on today's call. Now I'm going to pass it over to Felipe, and we're going to talk about Microsoft Telemetry.
All right, thank you, Sean. We wanted to bring up this topic specifically for Microsoft Telemetry, which is one of our main integrations available for free with Sophos MDR Complete. And when it comes to Microsoft Telemetry, before we can respond to a threat, we first need to see it, and all it starts with telemetry itself. So when we talk about Microsoft Telemetry, we are referring to the rich data and security signals that come from Microsoft ecosystems, across identities, endpoints, email, cloud, apps, and more. So for organizations, for example, using Microsoft 365, Azure, or Microsoft Defender, this telemetry, it's incredibly valuable. So because it's going to provide visibility into user behavior, system activity, any security alerts. So we want to make sure we can acknowledge that suspicious activity or determine whether it's suspicious activity, malicious activity, or just a false positive. At Sophos MDR, we don't just rely on endpoint data. We integrate with Microsoft to ingest, these signals. We are correlating them with other sources, and we are taking meaningful action when these threats are detected. The more telemetry we have, the earlier we can detect threats, the faster we can investigate, and the more effectively we can respond to these specific threats. So let's take a closer look at what types of Microsoft telemetry are available and how they can vary by the license tier, or depending on your Microsoft licensing. We are going to also discuss the impact that this Microsoft Telemetry has on MDR visibility and protection capabilities. So, Sean, if you don't mind, next slide, please. Perfect. So first, we have the Microsoft 365 management activity. With this API, this is one of the most powerful sources of log data that we can work with. Yeah. So first of all, it includes essential elements for your audit logs from across Microsoft 365 services. So the primary goal of this integration is to ingest these logs from Microsoft 365 environment and send them back to our Sophos data lake, right? So Sophos pretty much leverages these detections, not only for threat detection, but also to provide additional context to analysts during investigations. These audit logs are available to all Microsoft 365 customers, regardless of their license level. I'm going to talk more about Microsoft licensing in just a minute. So the scope of this integration, for example, includes elements or activities such as file and folder access, sharing activities, user sign-ins or logins, administrative actions. For example, someone is disabling the audit log. Someone wants to remove all of the actions, activities they are performing. So we don't want to, of course, to allow that, and we are going to notify you about this specific suspicious activity. So what does this mean in real life? Let's say, for example, an attacker gained access to a compromised user account. The management activity logs can show us exactly what the account did from, for example, login location, file access, rule changes in Outlook. Someone is forwarding all of the internal inbox from an internal inbox to an external email, or even, for example, privilege escalation or lateral movement. So we are going to be able to ingest these logs, and it's going to give us the context we need to, once again, to determine suspicious activity or malicious activity, or from legitimate activity or false positive itself. Next slide, please, Sean. All right, so next up is the Microsoft Security Graph. This is pretty much the legacy version. For Microsoft Security Graph, we have two integrations available: version 1 or API v1 and version 2 or API v2. And even though Microsoft is planning to decommission this version, we recommend that you configure integration for both Microsoft Graph Security v1 or API v1 and API v2. We are going to provide a good walkthrough. I can see here Sean just dropped the video, and that includes a TED bit where you are going to be able you are going to be able to identify how you can integrate Microsoft in just a couple of steps. So that's a good walkthrough in order to troubleshoot common issues and have this integration integrated with Sophos MDR in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to share also more details and use cases shortly regarding Microsoft security and also management activity in the next slide as well. Perfect. So when it comes to the V2 or the modern alternative, this is pretty much or brings together alerts from across mainly Microsoft Defender products. Right. So the big advantage here is the correlation and consistency. That's the new feature for this specific API. So with Graph V2, we can receive this structured data. We are going to enrich alerts from Defender for endpoint, Defender for identity, or any other product related to Microsoft Defender itself, right? All in one place, of course. And once again, this depends on the Microsoft licensing or tier that you have purchased in your organization. So I'm going to discuss those scope in just a minute. One important thing here is we are not just responding to isolated events. We are connecting the dots here, and that leads to a faster detection and a more confident decision making. We want to make sure we can correlate those events, for example, tracking lateral movement from Defender for identity. Also, really important here, indicator of compromise. All of the information we gather from Microsoft Security Graph is going to enhance our investigations when it comes to threat hunting. So we're going to be able to understand indicator of compromise. And what we want to achieve with indicator of compromise is to create MDR cases in order to mitigate risk. We want to make sure we can remediate those threats before it's exploited, before someone, a bad adversary, is gaining or trying to gain access to that specific indicator of compromise. Perfect. So let's talk about ingestion here, a really good topic to cover. And once again, the goal is simple here. The more we can see with high fidelity detections, the faster and more accurately we can respond, right? So we are not ingesting, this is really important to highlight, we are not ingesting every alert coming from Microsoft or from any other third-party solution. We are correlating them and we are transforming them into Sophos detections with more context and more behavioral baseline. So that's going to give us a better understanding on how to triage that specific detection and how to start or initiate an investigation to activate the incident response plan, right? So next slide, please, Sean. All right, so when it comes to integrations, it's important to highlight limitations, of course. And as much as we focus on capability, is, once again, equally important to be transparent about limitations. First of all, we have the baseline user activity. That's because not always Microsoft is going to send us the right information. That depends, of course, how you set up your Microsoft environment, any other thresholds that we have in place. For example, you are allowing login activities from multiple locations around the globe. So we want to make sure we can differentiate that. We can determine if that is suspicious activity or, of course, is a legitimate action happening in your environment. So it's pretty important to highlight how's your baseline user activity within Microsoft itself. Also, Entra ID. While we do ingest logs that are sent through the management activity, once again, Office 365, we don't have direct access to the Entra ID platform or Azure for remediation processes or for deeper investigation. I just want to highlight here a spoiler. We'll have soon Microsoft response actions. So right now, we are going to provide a broader scope for actions related to compromised users or compromised business email itself. So here, for example, we're going to take actions such as enable or disabling a compromised users, for example, removing a suspicious forwarding rules in your inbox. So those are the response actions that we are going to shortly announce in May. So stay tuned because that is going to be a big enhancement for our MDR service. So that's really important to highlight. Then we have, of course, unprotected devices. And I like to cover this as is one of the main root cause of multiple MDR incidents. I mean, 5 out of 10 incidents in MDR are related to unprotected devices. That means, for example, we are having some gaps in our security posture. We are having, or we haven't deployed MDR itself across the organization, or maybe we have protected a specific device, and due to a lateral movement, there is another device which is an unmanaged device. So we want to make sure MDR is deployed across your organization. You have, for example, the security posture, your account health check, which is going to provide some information related to MDR deployment, but just make sure you have a up-to-date inventory within your organization so that we don't have this specific gap in your environment. All right. Also, Microsoft license restrictions. I'm going to provide further information about this because this is how we are going to establish the baseline when it comes to ingestion. So depending, of course, on the Microsoft licensing, for example, if you are on a Microsoft E5 license or basic Microsoft 365 business plan, you might have some gaps, mainly regarding Microsoft Defender, because with Microsoft E5 there are more capabilities related to the Microsoft EDR platform itself. So that's probably one of the gaps we might have if you don't have the full license or the full tier with Microsoft itself. Right. And finally, we are not going to analyze all of detections regarding Microsoft alerts or other platform because sometimes it might be so noisy. Sean briefly mentioned that there are multiple platforms that have multiple warnings, alerts, errors, something related to those aspects. So what we want to focus on here is high fidelity detections, the ones that indicate true risk. We want to make sure we are avoiding here noisy, repetitive, or maybe very low confidence detections that it's going to just provide not really insightful information or that specific information we need to proceed with an investigation. So that's really important when it comes to analyzing and ingesting every alert from third-party solutions. All right, so let's just walk through the process itself. Sean, if you don't mind, next slide, please. Thank you. And you might have seen probably this investigation process. We have here a good view of how we are ingesting, analyzing, and handling investigations. So this is a really thorough process in terms of how our teams are managing and handling these detections, then proceeding with triage investigation. And of course, if those are active threats or an ongoing incident, we are going to initiate the incident response process, right? So this diagram shows the full life cycle, and I'm going to walk you through from the left to the right starting with, customer environment. As Sean mentioned before, we have multiple third-party integrations. So here, for example, we are highlighting all of the Microsoft products, but also we have non-Microsoft telemetry sources such as firewall, identity, backup repositories, network detections, so on and so forth. So when it comes to this specific telemetry, then we are going to ingest that data to the XDR toolset. XDR is a standard detection response, and here we are going to receive these signals and then having in a correlated way, right? So, for example, instead of treating every alert in isolation, we stitch them together. We are compiling here all of these and correlating all of these alerts, and then having integrated in one single detection or multiple detections. That depends, of course, on the nature of that activity. So if something is suspicious or something suspicious is detected, Sophos Central can, for example, trigger an automated case. It can be create or raise an alert, and then an analyst, an MDR analyst, is going to create a case or start an investigation or trash. And then we are going also to create new detections. For example, as you can see here at the bottom, we have the adversary AP team, which is mainly our threat hunting and intelligence team, where we are correlating all of these new detections, and this is going to give us the right severity level, the right risk factor into these investigations, and then we can work on true legitimate detections. For example, some scenario that I always like to bring up is unsuccessful logins, right? Someone is typing the wrong password. That doesn't mean necessarily it's a legitimate threat. But if we have, for example, 5,000 unsuccessful login, and after 5 minutes, we have a successful login from Russia, from China, from other not common location, that's, of course, a suspicious activity, and we are going to create a case to let you know that we have found this specific activity happening in your environment. So the detection engineering team specifically is going to work with that detections, and based on behavioral baselines and also some patterns, we are going to be smarter in how to approach these specific detections, and then, for example, create indicator of compromise or discover this indicator of compromise, and then we can just open an MDR case and let you know that we have found this specific indicator of compromise so that you can mitigate the risk, right? Then we have at the right the whole process of the MDR framework itself when it comes to triage, containment, threat response, remediation, and so on and so forth. So once again, when it comes to triage, we are going to gather these detections. The purpose here is to determine whether it's a suspicious activity or not. We are going to escalate that specific detection to you. For example, we want to make sure we have that acknowledgement from your side, like, are you expecting this specific activity within your environment? Some good example here is, for example, pen testing activity. We want to make sure you are expecting that one, and it's not a bad adversary, an internal user playing around, poking around, being a hacker. So we want to make sure we can escalate that activity to you, and we can get your acknowledgement in order to proceed with the necessary steps to contain, neutralize, and remediate that threat. Also, when it comes to threat response, all of the MDR cases are going to have a specific severity level, right? And that can be categorized depending on a severity matrix, right? Matrix. So, for example, all the way from low to critical. And for those cases regarding or in between low and medium, we're going to escalate the case to you mainly by via email. And of course, for high or critical cases, we might give you a call right away just to take the necessary steps to acknowledge that specific activity. So this is how we ingest all of these relevant data, and we are having here the response action based on that specific information itself. All right, perfect. Next slide. Thank you, Sean. And of course, when it comes to Microsoft, as you can see here, we want to make sure we can provide the right information of which information we are ingesting. So management activity API, it's mainly the integration we mentioned regarding Office 365. I'm going to provide information on the chat regarding how you can integrate management activity API. It's just a couple of steps, maybe 4 or 5 steps with a Microsoft administrator, and then you will need to turn on audit logs. So on the chat, Sean just dropped a video where we want to make sure you can, or we can walk you through it in the process of how you can enable audit logs. And when it comes to all of the Defender products from Microsoft, those are more related to graph security, which was the feature I previously mentioned. So as you can see on the table, E5 contains the broader scope for Microsoft Defender approach, right? So this is going to provide further information about activity related to compromised users, lateral movement, privilege escalation. So it's going to provide insightful information regarding your environment. But once again, management activity API is one of the main Microsoft Telemetry integrations when it comes to gathering this information and then proceeding with an MDR case, right? Perfect. So, Sean, please, next slide.
Perfect. Got the Microsoft alerts here for you.
Yeah. And also, just to give you a clear picture of how you can view this information, these detections within your environment, you can go, or we're going to provide this quick walkthrough in just a moment. But here briefly, within the Threat Analysis Center, these are the 3 main alert sources you're going to find. These are some of the notations that we use, for example, for Graph Legacy, Graph V2, and also Microsoft Office 365. So once again, that depends on the Microsoft licensing itself, but we are going to provide more information about these detections in just a minute. I think it's in the next slide, Sean, if you don't mind walking us through the process, how you can check the health status of those integrations.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks, Felipe. So I covered a lot of different integrations, Microsoft 365, and how the process there works. We want to cover just some use cases that we will come across. We're going to kick things off with email security integrations and Microsoft Office 365, which is again a really popular integration among our customers, and we kind of went into detail with it there. But the use case here, I mean, the purpose of it was really just to prevent and detect email abuse and threats that often provide attackers with that initial access. What type of alerts can they have with email security? You'll see malicious attachments, suspected phishing email in user's inbox, where people will click on that attachment and then it opens up files within their device and then kind of runs havoc on a user's device itself. We also can see impersonation domain detections and then forwarding rules to external accounts that have been created, and then outgoing email limit has been exceeded as well. So within scenario 1, what we're seeing in email is a suspected phishing email is in a user's inbox. That user then clicks the email and it downloads a file to that user's location. Basically, it's an authentication controller on a Windows device. From there, we then detect an indication that there's been impossible. That we detect that there's been impossible locations showing user login for multiple locations. That then creates a forwarding rule to send all internal communications to an external account, exfiltration of data there. As a result, we basically have a business email that's been compromised, and we'll be notifying you via a case of that as well. So in scenario 2, we're observing multiple successive login attempts. So basically, we're kind of looking at this compromise here, we're seeing them trying to basically brute force their way in, and then also seeing in the email that the outgoing email limit has been exceeded as well. The insight there is that there's been a successful credential stuffing attack and use of compromised account to send spam. That's the overview of kind of just a relatively basic scenario for Microsoft Office 365. And then when it comes to firewall integrations, this is one of the most common cybersecurity solutions that every organization would have and be aware of. And the job there is really to monitor network traffic. But this, we're able to pull and add more telemetry-based alerts that we receive. So it just depends on the firewall vendor, but common alerts that we're used to seeing would be intrusion attempts, applications using non-allowed ports, DLP prevention, malicious URLs, beaconing and exploit kits. And some of these scenarios could trigger a potential case. And then we'll take a look at our first scenario here. The first scenario, we might observe from an endpoint that the scheduled tasks were modified, meaning that a threat actor could be trying to establish persistence on a machine, which is a very popular technique that's used by malicious actors today. From there, we verify the first observation with a firewall detection, such as beaconing. Beaconing lets a threat actor know that they have successfully infected a system so they can send commands and carry out the attack further. Then a firewall detects malicious URL access. And then the insight here is that we likely have a compromised device, meaning that the MDR team is going to be getting in contact with you about the suspicious activity and work on containment and remediating that threat with you. Scenario 2, for firewall integrations, we have an unknown process execution on an endpoint where it looks like someone wants to exfiltrate the data. So we'll look at the firewall alert where it's showing DLP prevention and also non-port usage. As a result of this, we're basically seeing a data exfiltration attempt, and the MDR team can request firewall logs from you to help analyze the cause of this possible threat and work with you on that incident. The last use case that we have here would be around identity integration. So it's all about managing user authorization and security authentication policies, and identifying unexpected access activities. And really, it's just all about protecting and verifying company resources. Some type of alerts that we have, so logins from new countries. So a lot of our customers are based in North and South America. So if we see someone logging in from maybe somewhere across the globe, that's a little odd, and likely none of users are going to be located there. Impossible travel is another one. I'm based here in Calgary, Canada, and if I was to log in to say from Australia, that could raise some red flags. We also have multiple successive login attempts. Someone's trying to bang away and get into your environment. We want to make sure that we're monitoring that data as well. Authentication events from suspicious IPs. Just want to make sure we're collecting that specific information too. And then if there's any kind of MFA issues, if a user's flagged, we're going to monitor that situation as well. So scenario 1, it's all about suspected credential harvesting, theft of data, malware, phishing campaigns. We are already seeing possible travel, and we want to identify that through the travel logs to see if it's going to raise some cases on our end. We'd also want to analyze that information to see what we're collecting, and then generate an immediate case and be in communication with your team to make sure that we prevent the credential theft from a compromised endpoint there as well. From scenario 2, we're seeing multiple successive login attempts. Again, the threat actor's hammering away, trying to get in and gain access. They don't have that password information, but they can still figure out how to get in there. They'll have access to information they shouldn't have. And it'll basically, what we're going to be seeing is they're declining push notifications and reported fraud. So it's likely a credential stuffing attack. So these are just kind of high level use cases that you might see from the MDR team, but just kind of want to make you aware of them, of what's going on there. All right, so when it comes to integration, health, and detections here, I believe we're going to jump into Sophos Central. Is that correct, Felipe?
Right.
Sounds good. Okay, so I will stop sharing if you would like to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Perfect. Can you see my screen, Sean?
Yep, I can see it. Yep.
All right. Perfect. So when it comes to integration health, we want to make sure you can understand the warnings or any other signals within your integration health status. So how you can check that status, here under Threat Analysis Center, there is an option of configure integrations, right? And we want to make sure you can have all of the lists related to integration statuses, yeah, from all the way Microsoft integrations available, but as well as any other third-party solution available that you have purchased within those integration packs, right? So, for example, if you want to check out some integration status regarding Microsoft, you can just click on that and highlight if that specific integration is working or not. We are going to provide information about, or just to confirm, Sean, have you dropped on the chat the link so that customers can troubleshoot any warning alerts that they might face here? Just want to confirm that.
Sorry, Felipe, I was on mute there. Yet that's been dropped in the chat. I'm also going to include a documentation on setup and configuration as well.
Perfect. Awesome. So here we want to make sure not only you are having this in a green status or any other warning related to these specific integrations. So here on the chat we are providing information on how you can check out or how you can review the common issues regarding these specific integrations, because it could be something related to the collector, right? There are a couple of integrations we have available just with an API. So it's just a user, a password, some keys, and you're good to go. But there are other integrations where it's necessary to include a log collector so that we can ingest all of the relevant data from those third-party solutions and then send it back to the Sophos data lake. So here, just on the configure section, you are going to review all of the integrations you have available and then just check the warning or any other green status you have in place, right? Really important information. If you need any support on that integration, please feel free to reach out to the support team. They can help you out understanding the root cause of that specific warning, or if we need to reset or restart the integration. So that could be something we are going to be able to advise just to troubleshoot that specific integration status, right? Perfect. Also, you can check the integration app appliances. As I mentioned before, these are the log collectors we are including with your integration packs, just to make sure we are ingesting that specific information from those third-party solutions, such as, for example, our proprietary Sophos NDR, but also if you have any firewall log collector, any network log collector, some of those cases are going to be shown on showcase over here, right? Perfect. And also another way to look at the detections or the telemetry we are ingesting is the detection section, where you can filter under the Threat Analysis Center, the detection section, and you can filter here, for example, not just only by severity, but also by category. For example, logs coming from identity products, firewall, network, platform, so on and so forth. So let's see, for example, firewall, network, or email, if we are ingesting some. And here, for example, we can see detections coming from third-party firewall, third-party network solutions. And of course, those cases might and not might create cases. That depends, like, once again, on the nature of that activity. But if you have any questions regarding the detections that we are ingesting, you can also reach out to the MDR operations team to initiate a threat hunting, just to make sure we can investigate and proceed with the necessary steps to triage that specific detection that we are ingesting. Also, it's a good way to tune our detections, because sometimes the case severity matrix might be changed. I mean, for example, we are having a detection with a high level, but maybe it's not a high level, it's medium level or low level. So we can tune those detections and make these even more accurate, right? Here you are going to have all of the information related to that specific detections, how we are correlating that information into a description, the mitred attack tactic, the integration vendor, source IP, destination, so on and so forth, and also all the raw data that we are pretty much ingesting from the log collector. So this is another way to just acknowledge and determine if you are ingesting information from your third-party solutions. All right, so this was just a quick walkthrough in Sophos Central to make sure you can double-check the health status, integration health status, but also you can see the detections that we are ingesting and we are tracking within our incident response process, right? Perfect. So just takeaways, Sean, why it's important to integrate here.
For sure. Yeah. If you want to stop sharing, I can share the slide deck. Perfect. Thanks. Awesome. All right. Heading back over here. Perfect. So just, kind of recap, why integrate with MDR, just visibility. You can have all your alerts in one place, and then you can have increased MDR visibility on threats that are coming through, right? So nice part about Sophos is that it all works really well together, and just having that visibility across your environments and your services is really valuable. Also allows the MDR team to provide investigations. So in real time, they can do threat hunts that are provided by the MDR team. As an MDR, customer, you're able to call or email into the SOC 24/7, as we are a global company. We have a security operations center up here in Canada where Felipe and I are, down in the United States. There's also one in Cork, Ireland, Australia as well. So you have that 24/7 coverage around the clock. And then also just case information generation as well. So you're able to see, what's going on related to the information coming through from, Microsoft detections, non-Microsoft detections as well. So with the Q&A, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask them. We've kind of been answering some of them within the call here today. See any in there, Felipe, that we can answer right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Sean, we've had many questions about additional information on what limitations exist for different Microsoft 365 license level. And as I said before, it's a large list, because depending on each Microsoft licensing, there are some features within the Microsoft Defender product itself related to advanced threat simulation, automation, auditing, alerts, so on and so forth. And so I'm going to provide on the chat a good view of all of these feature matrix. So over there, you can see all of the relevant information about each specific license, but also each feature within each specific Microsoft tier or Microsoft licensing. So once again, as I said before, what we are doing right now is having all of these warnings, alerts, and then correlated them into a specific sophos detection so that we can start with an investigation. And also we can provide further information on our follow-up email, just including a broader scope of those limitations as well.
Great, thank you, Felipe. So also a question here, will we get an alert if the integration goes down or enter an unhealthy state? So I can take this one. At this time, there's no active alerts on integration statuses. This is something that the product team is working on updating and being more active about. It's being investigated for possible development. But as Felipe had mentioned there, you can go into your Central's dashboard in the integration section, go to that specific integration, highlight the health status of any of those configured integrations to check on it as well. All right, anything else, Felipe, or would you like me to go to the last slide here on who can help?
Yeah, also let me see on the chat. Does MDR Complete not require another license for network detections? Is included. If you're mentioning network detection and response, the connector is included, but the product is sold separately. And when it comes to network integration pack, that is an additional license, and that could be purchased just with the same number of MDR users you have for either endpoints and servers. So that's an additional integration if you want to include network integration and network detection. Sorry.
Sounds good. See, Dana Rogers, all my integrations show healthy, that telemetry shows no data collected. So Dana, if you want to refer to the document that I'll post here again in the chat, it's all about the troubleshooting MDR document, like all the integration kind of errors that can possibly happen. I'll repost it here for you right now so you have it. But that's going to be your best bet in terms of looking through those integrations. And if that doesn't answer, we'll end up opening up a support ticket there for you. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, perfect. And just regarding the roadmap of Microsoft 365 response actions, we are planning to have a soft launch in May. So stay tuned, because we are going to provide information of those response actions across Microsoft, which is a new enhancement for our MDR service. That's probably for late May, right?
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, then we'll keep moving on here just to wrap things up in terms of who can help the different teams that you'll come across here related to MDR. So the first column there, the MDR operations team, that is the 24/7 global security operations team. So you work with them for any cases, detections, investigations, any active incidents. You can call or email them to open up a threat hunt, or they'll have someone look to do at any time. They work in tandem with Felipe and I's team. We're the customer success team here. We run these webinars. We also run part of the onboarding journey here for MDR as well. Great for any service questions on MDR, feature requests, feedback. Also, if you just need a support case escalated or you're not sure who to go to or to communicate with, please feel free to reach out to the customer success team. And then technical support, that's for if you're working in Sophos Central and things feel buggy or broken or degraded. You can reach out to them on terms of like product issues or assistance. And then lastly, we have the professional services team. So they run a extensive guided onboarding journey with a implementation call, XDR training, and security posture assessment. And then you can also pre-purchase hours from the professional services team as well. And we have some contact information. So here is the MDR operations email, and then also have the toll-free phone number here as well for the US and Canada regions. Our shared email inbox for the customer success team at MDR as well. Anytime we communicate with MDR customers, we always CC this email just to ensure that we have coverage around the clock. We also recommend adding these emails to your allow list just to ensure our reports get through and our broadcast emails get through as well. All right. Well, Felipe, anything else that you'd like to add?
Not from my side. If you have any follow-up questions after this session, something we miss here on the chat or the Q&A section, we'll be more than happy to address those questions afterwards. Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining today's call. We appreciate the engagement and the questions. And thank you for joining. And we will talk to you soon and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you, Sean. Bye-bye.
Bye.